Our guy was just a normal dude who had received his university acceptance letter, but before he could even celebrate, Truck-kun struck and gave him an instant death, ending his dream of having the sweetest girlfriend when he got to campus. When our guy finally opens his eyes, he has been reborn in a fantasy world as Ian Raven, but instead of being born into a noble family, he is born as the son of a lowly farmer. To make it worse for him, he was born with black hair, and his family is dirt poor. Some years later, his parents and two older brothers went out to hustle, leaving him and his junior sister to wander around in search of food. However, kids of his age usually stay away from him because of his black hair, and Ian is left groaning in frustration as to why he has to be reborn into such a trashy situation. Suddenly, a status window appears before him, and just as he is about to get his hopes up that something good is going to come out of it, the system crushes his hope, telling him that he is a nobody. However, Ian isn't entirely surprised since he wasn't expecting something great in the first place. He was born the son of a farmer and has no dream of being anything other than being a farmer. Nonetheless, he is confident that he could actually succeed in anything else as long as he studies. This leaves him wondering if there is anywhere in the world that would take him in. After feeding his sister a bunch of roasted fish, he suggests that they go get dessert. They step into the woods where his sister starts munching on wild berries. She's enjoying herself when a scary beast appears in the distance. Before they could even move, the beast descended on them, and it turned out to be a giant bear. It roars at them, scaring them to their bones, but Ian grabs his sister and holds her close to try to protect her. Just as the beast is about to hurt them, a magical fire appears from behind, taking down the bear in one shot. Ian stares in curiosity as a lady in glasses appears on the scene, talking about how she might have gone a little overboard. The lady offers her greetings, asking Ian if she is in the Feldenberg territory. Ian confirms this, and the lady introduces herself, revealing that she is Eridus, a wandering mage. Ian is shocked when he hears this, since he knows mages to be powerful beings who appear on the battlefield wielding elegant skills and immense destructive power. Ian is left wondering why someone like this has come to a trash village like his. Eridus then reveals that she is looking for a black-haired kid who lives in the town. Since she is standing in front of one at the moment, she wants to know if there are any other black-haired boys besides Ian. Ian replies that he is the only black-haired boy in the territory, and Eridus concludes that she has the right person. Ian is shocked to hear this, as he doesn't even know what Eridus is talking about. Apparently, Eridus's master, the space-time mage, had told her to go to the territory to find the black-haired boy to make him her disciple, promising that good things would happen to her if she did. Since Eridus is standing in front of Ian at the moment, she is left wondering if all she has to do is take Ian in as her disciple. A lot is also going through Ian's head, like how mages are dangerous, but he believes that Eridus is quite kind. In addition, she was able to take down the bear in one hit, which shows how powerful she is. Just then, Ian asks Eridus about the magic she used earlier, and Eridus could see that Ian is actually curious to know about magic. Ian tells her that he's always believed that magic is scary, but seeing it with his own eyes makes him believe that it is quite amazing. Eridus then tells Ian that there is nothing special about it, assuring him that he can easily handle it if he learns. In fact, she lets Ian know that anyone can learn magic, and Ian is surprised to hear this. Ian is forced to ask if he can really learn to use magic, and Eridus says yes, saying that as long as he meets a good teacher, he can become a mage. Upon hearing this, Ian's dream flashes before his eyes, and the moment Eridus asks him if he would like to become her disciple, he wastes no time accepting the offer because his life is about to change. After getting permission from Ian's parents and the territory's lord, Eridus takes Ian away. Eridus tells Ian that he has to work hard for the opportunity he's been given, and Ian assures her that he won't waste it. To start his journey, Eridus dumps a big book in front of him. This is the basics of magic, which is learned in the Moronius language, and he has to learn it. As he starts reading the book, the status window displays his progress on the Moronius language. He steadily learns what he has to about the books, and once he is done with a chapter, another one is given to him by Eridus. After so long, Ian finally perfects the Moronius language, and the system informs him that he is capable of using the Archmage's official magical language. It basically took him 7 years to be able to do this, and Eridus tells him that this concludes his classroom studies, which means that they have to move on to the next step. The next thing Eridus does is to drop Ian from a high place, and as he falls, he screams in fear, asking his master if he is not moving way too fast with him. He reminds Eridus that all he's learned in the past couple of years is the Moronius language. Eridus then yells at the top of her voice, telling Ian to listen to the voice, but this is all confusing to Ian. He wonders what sort of voice he is supposed to listen to when he is falling from the sky, because all he can hear is the sound of the wind. Suddenly, a voice starts talking in his head, expressing its shock that a human is flying through the sky. Ian is shocked, but at the same time he figures out that this is the Moronius language. By listening to the voice and manipulating the wind around him, Ian acquires a new skill, which is wind magic. When he finally makes it to the ground after a near-death experience, his master makes fun of him while telling him about the mysteries of great nature. Eridas tells him that mages borrow the power of the great mysteries of nature by communicating with them, which is basically what magic is all about. Since he can now hear the voice of the wind, his master tells him that it is time for him to listen for the next mysterious voice. Ian assures her that he is ready for the experience, and Eridas tells him that his next challenge is the water. Ian is dumped into the water, and after almost drowning in the water, he is able to master water magic too. After this, Eridas tells him that what is left is ice magic, and Ian soon finds himself in an icy plain where he almost dies of cold. In no time, he learns this also, and Eridas commends him, telling him that his learning speed is quite incredible. However, Ian can't even answer since he is totally exhausted already. Without giving him time to rest, Eridas tells him that what he has to learn next is fire magic, and Ian almost pees his pants when he finds himself in front of a large fire. However, after a near-death experience, he also learns fire magic. With this, his master tells him that the last one he needs to learn is earth magic. Ian is sent into a cave, and as he navigates his way around, he hears a riddle in his head. Since he doesn't understand what was being said, he figures out that he lacks the aptitude for earth magic, and he has to gain more experience in other training. Just then, the status window appears in front of him, telling him that he has bonus skill points that he can use to increase his magic proficiency. Ian is surprised to find out that he can use the skill window, which basically makes him a cheat player in this world. Since this is the case, he decides to raise his earth magic since he doesn't even understand a word it's saying. The moment he does this, a bright light appears on the screen, and when everything settles down, he can finally hear the earth magic communicating with him. Ian is glad that he finally learned the earth magic, and he figures out that it is time to get out to tell his master that he's learned it. Just then, he uses his fire magic to light the torch in his hand to see his path. Suddenly, he hears a voice in his head telling him that he hates the light, and Ian is shocked. He asks if earth magic is the one talking to him, but the voice says no. The voice replies, telling him that it is the darkness. Moments later, Ian rushes out of the cave with excitement, telling his master that he succeeded. However, he didn't only learn earth magic, but also learned shadow magic from the darkness. Eridas is shocked when she hears this, as she can't believe that Ian just heard the voice of the frightened and shy darkness. Ian can see the shocking reaction on his master's face, and he asks her if she is fine. Eridas simply calls Ian's name, telling him that it is time to head down the mountain. Ian excitedly asks her where they are supposed to move to, but she replies that it is not what he thinks. Eridas tells him that what she means is that they have to part ways. She points in a certain direction, telling him that he has to go to Chronoleague to participate in the Space-Time Mage Conference. Eridas tells him that he will most likely meet the Space-Time Mage there if he is destined to master space-time magic. Ian is blown away when he hears this because he can't believe that he has to learn such incredible magic all of a sudden. Deep down, Eridas is willing to send him off because she knows that he has an innate affinity for the mysteries, and if her intuition is correct, Ian will surely be able to handle the power of time too. Once they are both ready to leave, Eridas tells Ian to meet her at Dranheim in 3 years. Ian then makes his way to the nearest town while thinking about the Space-Time Mage Conference. Even though his master dumped it on him all of a sudden, he doesn't mind since he is excited too. Just then, he hears a man putting out an announcement that he is willing to travel with anyone going north. Since the Space-Time Mage Conference is heading north and he is currently free, he figures out that he might try going there in the meantime. Later on, Ian and his fellow travelers heading north are seen camping for the night. The one leading the journey is Reek, who is the master of the Rabbitfoot Merchant Guild. Reek asks Ian if it is his first time heading north, and Ian says yes, revealing that he had some business that came up suddenly. When Reek hears this, he figures out that Ian doesn't know about the Dragon Mountains. Apparently in these mountains, drakes appear, and Reek asks Ian if he knows how to fight, or at least knows how to run. Ian replies that he is not really confident in either of the things he just said, while wondering why Reek is hugging him and getting all friendly out of nowhere. Reek is shocked when he hears this, and he tells Ian that he is pretty useless. He asks him what his profession is, and Ian nervously replies that he is a mage. Reek hears this and stands up in shock, asking Ian if he is serious about what he said. With Reek speaking loudly and expressing his shock, others get to hear this too. Even the mercenaries with them are left in shock. Ian notices the sudden change in everyone's expression, and he asks if there is a problem whatsoever. Reek tells him that it is nothing serious, but he starts offering to give Ian things. The mercenaries, on the other hand, start making fun of Ian for saying he is a mage. They don't want to believe this since he looks so scrawny, and they mock him, saying that if he claims that he is a mage, anyone can also say the same. Ian is wondering what is wrong with them when a blue-haired lady who is covering her head with a hood walks up to him. She tells Ian that if he is really a mage, he has to give the mercenaries a piece of his mind to shut them up. Ian asks her what she means by this, and she tells Ian that mercenaries like to look down on anyone, and it doesn't even matter if he is a mage or not. Basically, he has to show them his power to let them know that he is not gentle, so they can't look down on him. In fact, they will fear him and protect him if something happens. Ian figures out that she is actually right, but he doesn't know how he is supposed to do this. Basically, he has never gotten angry before, so he is confused in this situation. Just then, he spots one of the mercenaries spitting in his plate while using a leaf to rub it all over. Ian loses it, and just then, the ground starts to shake as if there were an earthquake. The dude is freaking out when Ian walks up to him, asking him why he is spitting on his plate. With sweat running down his face, he offers his apologies, bowing his head to Ian. He tells Ian that he only wanted to clean the plate, and Ian yells at him, saying he should have washed it with water instead. The dude nervously argues with him that water is dirty, and Ian asks him what he means by this. The dude replies that water has all sorts of things in it, like lime, mud, and parasites, so he can't wash a plate with water. He mentions that saliva is more hygienic than water, and the moment Ian hears this, he almost loses his mind. Ian cannot believe just how bad medieval hygiene standards are. Ian almost loses his cool as he uses his power to make the fire burn brighter. Ian finally speaks, telling the mercenaries to go draw some water at that instant. The dudes rush off to the stream to get water because they can see how pissed Ian is. Later that night, the mercenaries are seen searching through the woods. Apparently they are looking for the blue-haired lady, whom they call Kathy. Suddenly, they run into Kathy being kidnapped by some bandits, and before they can even react, they get shot with arrows. The mercenaries whip out their weapons, ready to fight the bandits, and in no time, a fierce battle ensues between them. The bandit leader, who is carrying Kathy, suddenly gets bitten by her, forcing him to drop her on the ground. Kathy picks herself up and dashes off away from the scene while the two groups are fighting each other. The bandit leader informs his underlings that their target has escaped, and he orders them to catch her. Meanwhile, Ian is having a peaceful sleep back in his tent when the darkness wakes him, warning him of the impending danger. Reek then rushes into the tent, telling him that something bad is happening. Meanwhile, the bandits have overwhelmed the mercenaries, cutting them down without mercy. Kathy finds herself hiding behind a tree, and she is scared that she is going to get caught if something doesn't happen at this rate. Suddenly, one of the bandits finds her where she is hiding, and he points his sword at her, screaming at her to get up if she doesn't want to lose her arms. Kathy freaks out because at this point there is no way out for her. The dude is about to harm her when he is suddenly sent flying into the distance. Kathy turns around to see who saved her, and it turns out to be Ian. Ian confidently tells her to follow him, and the rest of the travelers quickly join in. Just then, Ian commands the darkness to come down, blinding the bandits. The bandits freak out, lighting their torches, but this is still not enough for them. Meanwhile, Ian can actually see in the dark because he is using the shadow arts. He is leading them away when a bandit suddenly spots them, using his torch. He is about to cut Reek when Ian commands the fire he is holding to burn him. The fire rises aggressively, burning him down without mercy. The others see this, and fear creeps into their bodies. Ian believes that this will scare them away, but it turns out to be the opposite. The moment the bandit leader figures out that they are being attacked by a mage, he orders his men to go after him. Suddenly, a drake appears out of nowhere and eats up one of the bandits. Everyone else is left in shock when they see this, and even Ian couldn't believe his eyes at the terrifying presence of the beast. The drake comes face to face with the bandit captain, and without giving it a second thought, the dude dashes off. Ian and the others are left trembling in fear because a dragon just appeared out of nowhere. Even Ian doesn't know what to do, and he believes that this is the end of the road for them. Suddenly, the system informs him that he has witnessed a primeval mystery, and he has acquired a new skill, the summoning arts. This is an ability that allows him to communicate with and summon mysterious life forms. Ian is basically confused by this, since he doesn't even know what it does. He doesn't want to believe that the drake standing in front of him is the same as the mysteries he's met in the past. Since this is the case, he decides to communicate with the drake. He calls out the drake, but the drake doesn't react to this. In fact, the drake unleashes a terrifying roar that scares Ian and the travelers hiding behind him. However, Ian decides to stand strong, since he has never been betrayed by the mysteries before. He calls the drake's name again while trying to communicate with it, telling it that he is a friend. However, the drake still doesn't communicate back, even with all the hand gestures and all. The other travelers strongly believe in Ian, but deep down he is freaking out because he can't even hear what the drake is saying. Ian then decides to raise his skill by using up points. He figures out that he is just going to pour all of his points into the summoning arts, and the moment he does this, he is informed that the summoning arts ability has increased. Suddenly, he hears the drake's voice, and he immediately addresses the drake. The drake tells Ian to say whatever is on his mind and stop wasting time. With the drake yelling and all, Ian calmly tells the drake that he has no interest in fighting it. The drake laughs this off, telling Ian that it is not even possible for a mere human like himself to try to fight him. Ian confirms this, saying they are basically going to lose if they try to. The Drake then asks Ian if what he is saying is that he wants it to save him. The Drake mocks Ian and his companions, saying it is going to be nothing to kill the likes of him. Ian hears this and heaves a sigh of relief because this means that they are out of the bad waters. Suddenly, the Drake tells him that there is a big issue, and this is the fact that he is currently in a bad mood. The Drake roars at them again, scaring the travelers to their knees, and Ian panics, wondering what it is that he can do. Ian then figures out that he just has to push through. He then asks the Drake what the issue is and why it is in a bad mood. The Drake asks Ian why he is subject to telling him anything. Ian replies that he just wants to see if he can be of some assistance to him, but the Drake yells at him, telling him that he is quite arrogant. It tells Ian that there is nothing a mere human can possibly do to help. Ian then decides to stop arguing and just show his power to the Drake. He surrounds himself with wind power, and the Drake is shocked to see this. Ian mentions that he is just a humble mage who is seeking the mysteries of the world, which is why he is hoping to offer his modest strength to help the Drake. Now that he has gotten the beast's attention, Ian figures out that it is time for negotiations. Ian heaves a sigh of relief when he realizes that the Drake's bloodlust has vanished, which means he has escaped an immediate danger. Ian decides that it is time to show the dragon what he is made of, to prevent the dragon from leading him around with some trash request. Just then, he remembers what his master told him, telling him that he cannot use magic without communicating with the mystic arts. This is basically why the kind of relationship he builds with the mysteries matters. Eridas lets him know that every mystery has a different personality, which is why, as a mage, it is important for him to understand and empathize with how the mystery feels. It then dawns on Ian that, as a mage, what is most important is the art of social maneuvering. He decides to try out his luck, and he calls out the all-purpose status window. Ian spots the expert summoning techniques, which are exactly what he needs. He goes through it, and what he finds shocks him. He learns that he is supposed to give the Drake alcohol, and the larger the body, the stronger the drink should be. After he is done giving it alcohol, he is supposed to suck up to the Drake as much as he can. Ian cannot believe that this is what he is supposed to do, which is the complete opposite of his character. He then decides to win the Drake's heart first, hoping that if he does this, a breakthrough will present itself. Ian then tells the Drake that he has a present for it, asking if it is okay to present the gift. The Drake tells Ian to bring his so-called gift so it can see it. Ian then orders Reek, telling him to go to the wagon at that instant to bring the strongest liquor that they have. When the drinks are finally brought to the Drake's presence, it is not entirely impressed, as it believes that it is a stingy gift. However, Ian tells the Drake that in the human world, the smaller the quantity, the more expensive it is. Ian pours the liquor in a cup, telling the Drake to have at it, but the beast is irritated by it, and it yells at Ian, asking him if he is plotting something sinister against it. However, Ian assures the Drake that he is not, and then offers to drink some of the liquor to show it that it is safe. Ian gulps down the drink, and after he is done, he is able to use this to prove to the dragon that the drink is safe. However, he almost passes out because of how strong the drink is. The Drake admits that it is safe to drink, but at the same time it is still not comfortable because of the pungent smell that it has. However, Ian urges the Drake to give it a taste, assuring the Drake that it is going to be satisfied. The Drake finally takes a taste of the drink, and its face turns red in excitement. The Drake tells Ian that the drink might not be delicious, but for some reason it is actually addictive. However, Ian uses this to his advantage, telling the Drake that it should have more because it only gets better from here on. Just as predicted, the Drake finds itself drowning in the alcohol the more it takes. In fact, the Drake has drunk over 7 barrels, and he is still standing strong. Ian had plans to get the Drake drunk and then escape while he was asleep, but he doesn't even think this option is no longer possible. Just then, the Drake calls Ian's attention to the question he asked him earlier about why he was in a bad mood. Ian stares at the Drake and is surprised that he is suddenly ready to talk to him. The Drake then reveals that his nest is in a bad location and it is cramped compared to the others. Even with this, his girlfriend used to assure him that it was a relaxing place. Ian is shocked to hear this, as he can't believe that the Drake actually has a girlfriend with an ugly face like that. The Drake reveals that he didn't even know that others were already mocking his girlfriend behind his back, and because of this, he felt bad, which forced him to initiate a breakup. Suddenly, the Drake lets out a loud roar in pain, which is enough to wake the other travelers from their sleep before knocking them out right back. Ian starts to pity him because his feelings for his lover are just the same as those of humans. Just then, it dawns on Ian that he can use this to his advantage. Ian then gets on his feet, telling the Drake that he can use his magic to help him fix his nest. The Drake is shocked to hear that Ian is willing to help him, but Ian lets him know that he would have to do something in return too. Later on, Reek snaps out of his coma when he hears Ian threatening to pull out his fingers. By the time they all wake up, they find themselves at the back of a carriage, being pulled by Ian. When they finally come to a stop, Kathy asks Ian if the drake returned to his nest, but he tells them the drake is waiting for them. Reek freaks out, asking if the drake is waiting around because he wants to eat them. However, Ian lets them know that the drake is waiting for him because he made a deal with him on the condition that he would help the travelers. Kathy is surprised to hear this, since she has no idea what sort of deal he is talking about. The others, on the other hand, are already celebrating that the mage sacrificed himself for them. Basically, Ian had told the drake that he would release the travelers in exchange for fixing his nest. Before Ian knows it, Reek and the others dedicate a song to him. They sing wholeheartedly, talking about how Ian defeated the drake. They basically turn Ian into a deity that they have to worship and protect. Ian is left wondering what the hell the group is talking about. Before Ian leaves, he tells them not to leave without him, but urges them to prepare to depart once he gets back. After his departure, the group comes together to take a head count, but without them knowing, Kathy vanishes. Soon afterward, Ian arrives at the drake's nest, and even he is left in shock. The drake can see the reaction on his face, and he yells at him, telling him that he can't back down, but Ian lets him know that he has no intention of backing out. Ian says he is basically just checking things out. Apparently, Ian is already exhausted from using Moronius language, and he figures out that he just has to fix the nest so he can go rest. Ian then calls on the earth, telling it that he has a favor to ask, but the earth yells at him, telling him that it is not in the mood. Ian cannot believe that the earth is mad at him, and when the drake asks Ian how his conversation with the earth went, Ian reveals that the earth refused to speak with him. However, he plans to ask the earth again once her mood improves. When the drake hears this, he basically gives up on trying to fix the nest, saying this only means that his ex is not his soulmate. The drake then introduces himself, revealing that he is Longtail Drake, while asking Ian to be his friend. Ian agrees to this, and as they form a bond, the system informs Ian that he has acquired a skill to help him summon Longtail, since he is now his friend. Even though it is good news for Ian, he is not entirely happy, since he wasn't able to do anything for his friend. Just then, Longtail shows Ian his treasure room, which is filled with several valuable items, telling Ian to take as many as he likes, since they are friends now. Ian is blown away by the amount of treasures in the room, and he remembers that his master told him that dragons like to gather treasures, and since Longtail is a dragon's relative, it is not far-fetched that he would also have treasures of his own. Ian moves over to the jewels and wishes the earth could see the jewels so she could listen to his request. Suddenly, an idea comes to his head, and he asks Longtail if it is fine for him to do a bit of scribbling on the ground. Ian then draws a magic circle on the ground, which his master once taught him. Apparently, his master had told him that if a mystery is sulking, all he has to do is offer a gift with a magic circle. Ian places a jewel in the middle of the circle and then calls the earth again. The earth responds again, but before she can start complaining, Ian tells her to make the walls smooth. Reacting to the jewel in the middle of the circle, the earth agrees to do what he wants. Using the earth magic, the whole nest is immediately transformed so much that even Longtail is blown away. In fact, he is so mesmerized by how neat everything came out to be that he wants to start crying. Longtail is left totally blown away, and he thanks Ian for the help. Longtail says that with this, he can now take care of his soulmate, and even if they have children in the nest, they will be safe. Suddenly, Ian starts to feel lightheaded, and before he knows it, blood drips out of his nose. Longtail is still asking him what is going on when Ian crashes to the ground and passes out. Longtail grabs Ian, screaming at him to be fine since he doesn't know what to do. Longtail is wondering what to do when he hears Kathy's voice in the distance, calling Ian. Longtail immediately cuts her off, and he roars at Kathy aggressively, believing that she is coming to hurt Ian. However, Kathy urges Longtail to calm down, telling him that she is Ian's friend, so he should not eat her. Upon hearing this, Longtail calms down, and he gives Kathy the chance to check on Ian. Soon afterward, Ian starts coming back to life, and the first thing his mind goes to is his phone. He hasn't even properly woken up when he stretches his hand to his side to try to look for his phone. Unknown to him, he is resting on Kathy's lap, and he ends up touching her hands. He wonders why his phone is so soft the way it is, and without opening his eyes, he continues pressing Kathy's hand, believing that it is his phone. It isn't until Kathy's voice cuts through his ears that he realizes he is not back in his old world. He opens his eyes to find himself on Kathy's lap and quickly gets back on his feet. He is shocked when he sees Kathy in the nest, asking her what she is doing there. Since Kathy witnessed what just happened, she urges him to lie down a bit because it appears that his head is still scrambled. However, Ian refuses, and he gets on his feet, thinking about how he passed out because he pushed his summoning level too far while he was communicating with Longtail. Just then, it dawns on Ian that Kathy must have seen everything that happened, and he almost dies from embarrassment. Ian then asks Kathy where Longtail is, and Kathy reveals that he left suddenly. Ian wonders if he has gone to meet his girlfriend already. Ian apologizes for causing Kathy trouble, but she assures him that it is fine. It then dawns on Ian that Kathy must have been able to get past Longtail to get to him. Kathy reveals that she only told Longtail that she is his friend, and Longtail let her through. After they are done with the conversation about how she got there, Kathy tells Ian that there is something she needs to tell him. Kathy reveals that the attack that happened the night before was because of him. Ian is surprised to hear this and wonders if this is why Kathy was shaking so much the night before. Ian then asks Kathy if she is in league with the bandits who attacked them, but Kathy says no, asking what part of her looks like she is a freaking bandit. Ian defends his claim, saying her face gave her away because it is the normal thing in fantasy stories that a beautiful lady is the leader. Kathy then decides to tell Ian a secret that he obviously doesn't know, which is the fact that she is not Kathy. Ian is not entirely surprised when he hears this, and he is expecting her to finish her statement by saying she is the princess of the country. Kathy continues by saying her real name is Lucy of the Tarian family. Lucy reveals that the bandits were after her because they were sent by her fiancé to kidnap her. Ian hears this and concludes that it is a lover's quarrel, but the moment Lucy sees the reaction on his face, she tells him that it is not what he thinks. Lucy mentions that she planned to go far away so her fiancé will not be able to find her. However, after what happened the night before, she has lost confidence in escaping alone. Because of this, she asks Ian to help her escape. Ian urges her to calm down because he wants to know why she is running away. He asks her if her fiancé did something bad. She mentions that the Tarian family is a barony family that rules over the Fianlep region, but because they lack enough knights to serve them, they are always exposed to danger from external enemies. With the trajectory that the family is going, they realize they would be destroyed by territorial wars. To prevent this, the Tarian family betrothed her to a knight who was a former mercenary captain. Since he was the captain of the most influential mercenary group at the time, the external forces targeting their family had reduced. Initially, everything seemed to be fine, and even her fiancé appeared to be satisfied with the status of being a son-in-law to a baron. In the end, he began to abuse the power he gained through his position, and he started creating a harem while treating Lucy like a fool. After her parents couldn't handle it anymore, they demanded that the engagement be broken. However, things took a dark turn when the dude poisoned her parents. Ian is shocked when he hears this. Lucy mentions that the dude knows that if the engagement is broken, he would lose the power he had obtained, which is why he poisoned her parents and silenced the servants. Upon hearing this, Ian realizes that they are dealing with a scumbag. Lucy mentions that the dude might act almighty all he wants, but without getting married to her, he is just a regular commoner. He basically can't inherit the family's fortune either. Lucy reveals that this was why she escaped with the help of a servant, since she was prepared to die rather than marry the dude. However, it is obvious that he would continue chasing her to make sure that the marriage works. Because of this, Lucy has no choice but to beg Ian to help her escape safely. After hearing everything, Ian realizes that it is quite a serious situation, and he can see why it would be hard to do alone. With everything that is going on, Ian realizes that the whole matter is a bit complicated. Ian cannot just wrap his head around the mindset of those in power during medieval times. With tears in her eyes, Lucy assures Ian, while placing her honor on the Tarian name. Ian asks Lucy why she chose him and also wants to know what she would do if he betrayed her. Lucy replies that this dude is a scumbag, and even if he sold her out to him, he will just give him a few silver coins. She, on the other hand, can give him everything he wants, and Ian asks her what she means by everything. Lucy lets him know that she can even give him the Tarian family if he wishes. Ian thinks about this and figures out that he could even marry Lucy, since she is offering to give him everything. For someone like him, who was the son of a farmer, to marry a noble would be an incredible opportunity. However, if it comes to this, he wonders what would come about his career as a mage. At the same time, he knows that living as a noble and engaging in politics isn't a bad life, but since he was born into a fantasy world, he believes that it would be better if he devotes himself to mastering magic. He figures out that by helping Lucy, he should be able to gain experience as a mage. In addition, he can even earn travel expenses, but at the moment, he just has to drive off the pursuers and leave the rest to fate. Ian then speaks up, telling Lucy that it would be better for her to ask someone with a sword for help than him, since mages aren't warriors. Lucy is about to start another round of persuasion when Ian tells her that since she is willing to pay, he can help her escape. However, he lets her know that whatever happens afterward is on her. The moment Lucy hears this, she covers her face and starts crying, sending Ian into full panic mode. He tries to comfort her, asking her if he said something awful because he was only trying to help. However, Lucy clears the air, thanking him for everything. She places her head on his shoulder, shedding tears on his shoulder. After the two are done, they step outside, and Ian is surprised to see Longtail tanning in preparation to meet his girlfriend. Longtail is happy to see him, and he asks him about his condition. Ian assures Longtail that he is fine, and he reveals that it looks like about time they head down the mountain because everyone is waiting. Ian thanks Longtail for the gift, and Longtail assures him that it is nothing. He then tells Ian to get on his back so he can give him a ride. Ian climbs the dragon, thanking him for the assistance. Just then, Longtail yells at Lucy to climb on too, since she is Ian's girlfriend. Ian quickly clears the air, telling Longtail that he has it all mixed up. While the two are busy talking about this, Lucy stands there totally clueless, wondering what it is that they are talking about. Ian then stretches his hand toward her, telling her to get on. Once the two are seated, Longtail happily rides out, heading in the direction of the other travelers. Meanwhile, the other travelers are trying to convince Reek that they need to leave the area before more bandits show up on site. Reek watches as two of the merchants argue with each other about whether bandits have what it takes to stick around or just run off. However, when they ask Reek for his stance on the whole thing, he tells them that they have to wait for the mage. The one who is in support is glad to hear this, while the other one is totally pissed. Reek is waiting on Ian to return because he is pretty sure that he didn't die, since he doesn't look like a weak mage. This is their belief until 10 minutes later, when they were attacked by bandits. They get beaten up so badly that Reek regrets not running off when he had the chance. The leader of the bandits screams at them, telling them to stop crying while promising that he's going to make their deaths fast. Reek begs the leader, who has an eye patch, to hand over the girl. Reek asks him what he means by this, and the bandit leader explains that there is a girl with them who has blue hair, so they should not even try to play dumb with him. This is when it dawns on them that the bandits are after Lucy. Just when it is time for them to start looking for Lucy, it dawns on them that she is nowhere to be found. The bandit leader assumes that they are mocking him, and he grabs his sword, ready to cut them down, but suddenly, they spot Ian in the distance. The moment they see Ian coming their way, the group knows that they are saved already. The bandit leader doesn't know what is happening until he sees a drake charging towards them. Instead of being concerned with the imminent danger, his focus is on Lucy, who is riding on the drake's back. However, when his subordinates finally call his attention to the danger, he screams at them, telling them to run for it. After the bandits leave, Reek tells Lucy that she should be thankful that she is with the mage because the bandits would have hurt her. Lucy cannot believe that the man is pitying her when he is the one who looks like he was beaten with a brick. One of the merchants then asks the important question, asking his friends how the bandits know about Lucy. His colleague reasons with him, saying it is true because they started looking for Lucy the moment they arrived, which is quite awful for dudes who are from Heavenly God Church. The moment Ian hears the name, he realizes that it's been a while since he last heard about the church. Apparently, the religion of this world is the Heavenly God Church, and its doctrine forbids turning believers into slaves. However, human traffickers and slave traders threw away those commandments a long time ago. Ian is also surprised that even after seeing a mage and a drake, they still didn't give up on Lucy, which shows just how persistent they are. It then dawns on him that the situation is quite bad, and if it continues this way, they're going to catch up to her. Ian then asks Longtail if he can do a favor for him. Longtail assures him that he can, and Ian tells Longtail to drive away the bandits. In fact, if it is necessary, he lets Longtail know that he can kill them. Longtail gladly accepts the request, since it is coming from a friend. Without wasting time, Longtail goes after the bandits. Even though Ian doesn't want to actually kill the bandits, he has figured out that they are in a medieval fantasy world where killing and being killed are quite normal. He knows that he has to change if he wants to survive in this world too. Suddenly, his head starts getting fuzzy, and he realizes that he must have used too much Moronius language again. He holds his head in pain, and Lucy grabs him, urging him to be careful because it appears that he is overstressing himself. However, Ian assures her that he is fine. While the two are busy talking about this, Reek spots them and immediately assumes that they are dating. Moments later, the group continues their journey, and Ian rests in the back of the carriage to regain his strength. Surprisingly, he is getting a kill notification for every human that Longtail kills. Ian is amazed at how convenient the whole thing is, but is sad that he can't call Longtail out at the moment. Suddenly, Longtail contacts him, telling him that he has driven away the bandits, and Ian thanks him for helping him out. Longtail says he is happy as long as what he does makes his friends happy. Longtail then asks Ian if he is leaving already, and Ian says yes. Ian mentions that it is a shame, but it is goodbye for them. Basically, Longtail can't leave the mountain range, and Ian is disappointed that they might never meet again. Before they end their conversation, Longtail asks him if he is interested in the mystery of the Phoenix. Soon afterward, they arrive at Riverville, but Ian is totally distracted by what Longtail told him. Apparently, Longtail told him that there is an ice phoenix living in the northern mountains, so he urges Ian to go check it out. What Ian knows about the phoenix is that it is a bird that never disappears, even after death. Basically, it is not just the firebird as known in his other world. The phoenix is basically a bird that can change its form depending on its environment, whether it is ice, wind, rock, and the like. It is basically known as a monster with high environmental adaptability. This leaves Ian wondering if he can actually summon the phoenix. Since they have arrived at their destination, Reek walks over to Ian, telling him that they plan to go meet the Lord of the territory, and he would like to know if he wants to come with them. Ian thinks about it for a minute and figures out that for Lucy to escape safely, it is better that she doesn't attract the attention of someone high-ranking, like the city lord. Reek urges Lucy to come with them, since she has nowhere to go, but Ian steps in, telling them that he and Lucy would rest at the inn before continuing their journey. The group is shocked when they hear this, and Lucy even plays along by placing her head on Ian's shoulder to get the group to believe the story. Reek laughs out loud because to him, it turns out that he is right about the two dating each other. With Reek and the others gone, Lucy asks Ian why he is using polite speech with commoners, and Ian replies that he is a commoner since he is a farmer's son. Lucy then reminds him that he is now a mage, and Ian replies that he is choosing this path since his master did the same. He is basically looking to emulate his master, who is friendly and polite. Ian asks Lucy what her next plan is, and she reveals that she is looking to meet Count Katina, who is her uncle from her mother's side. Lucy is pretty sure that her uncle would help her once she explains her situation to him. Ian points out that it must have been that her mother and the Count are close, and Lucy says it can be compared to that. However, Lucy's reluctance tells Ian that the uncle might not even be the best choice. He then asks Lucy if there is anyone else besides her uncle that she can trust, and Lucy yells at him, asking him if he is seriously doubting her uncle. Lucy claims that her uncle is the most trustworthy person in the world. Ian is shocked to see her defending her uncle so much, and he concludes that her uncle is a really good person. Lucy says her uncle is much better than someone she doesn't know at all because everyone else would probably try to marry her. Lucy then shifts gears into another direction, saying she would not mind if someone like Ian proposed to her. However, Ian lets her know that their contract comes to an end the moment they meet Count Katina. Lucy scolds him, telling him that he is being harsh since a noble is offering to marry him. Ian piles on the misery, telling her that there are loads of women out there aside from her. This hurts her feelings, and she walks off in anger while telling Ian that he is basically the worst. Shortly afterward, they arrive at the inn, and Ian informs the attendant that he would like to stay a few nights. In addition, he would like to use the bath, and he hands the attendant a pouch full of gold coins while asking if it will be enough. With a smile on her face, she assures Ian that it is more than enough while informing him that she is going to prepare a room for him immediately. The attendant then asks Ian if Lucy will be taking her bath too, and Lucy yells out in embarrassment, saying no. Ian asks her if she is rejecting the offer because she thinks the water is also going to get dirty, and Lucy says this is just part of it. Lucy asks him if she really has to say it out loud for him, and Ian just stares at her in total confusion since he has no idea what she is even talking about. Ian finally understands where the problem is. He finds out that the bath is in the open, and he quickly tells Lucy that she doesn't have to come with him, saying he is going to go in the bath alone. Just then, Ian notices that a bunch of suspicious men are in the room, and they are all staring at Lucy. He quickly orders her to put on her robe. Instead of doing what she is told, she is still arguing with him for using her real name, but Ian just forces her to put on the robe to cover her face while telling her she is annoying. However, the suspicious guys have already gotten a good look at her face, and they are all looking to have a taste of her. The dudes are already discussing among themselves, talking about how beautiful Lucy is. They even compare her beauty to that of an angel, and they believe that she is vulnerable since she has just one scrawny dude with her. They plan to snatch her up so that they can have some fun with her, and since it appears that Ian and Lucy won't stay long, the group figures out that they have to kidnap her that very day. Meanwhile, Reek is meeting with the city lord, Baron Kaltz, concerning business in the city. Kaltz urges Reek not to cause any trouble, and Reek assures him that he won't. Just then, Reek remembers that from what he heard, he can spend time in the castle if he gets on the Baron's good side. It immediately dawns on him that he can actually tell the lord about Ian to get on his good side. Reek then tells Kaltz that there is something he would like to tell him, and the Lord asks him what it is. Reek starts by saying it is supposed to be a secret, but because of his respect for the Lord, he couldn't keep quiet. Reek then reveals that during his travels, he encountered a mage, and the mage defeated the bad guys to save them. Reek talks about Ian like some sort of deity, but this gets Kaltz worried. Reek continues by telling Kaltz that Ian is currently staying at the inn in the town. Kaltz freaks out, asking Reek what it is that he is trying to say. Basically, Kaltz is worried that if the mage throws a tantrum and unleashes a drake on the territory, it is going to end in chaos. In fact, the whole region could get wiped out. To make it worse, there is already a group of absolute maniacs who are currently residing in town, and they are the Holy Santiago Knights. These knights are a group who have taken up arms out of the desire to serve God. They are basically monks and martial artists. However, rather than fighting wars, they hunt for demons and monsters, and they proclaim themselves the protectors of humanity. Kaltz is worried that hell is going to let loose if the mage and the knights are to cross paths. In panic, Kaltz calls on his commander, telling him to give Reek a room, adding that he should also summon the Santiago Knights to the castle. Apparently, in his head, he believes that the knights would be easier to reason with than a crazy mage. Back at the inn, Ian and Lucy are having their meal when Ian offers to go prepare the bathwater since it appears that the attendant is really busy. Ian tells Lucy to go upstairs immediately after she finishes her food. Unknown to them, the suspicious men already have their eyes on Lucy. After she is done eating, she takes the stairs, heading to her room, but she is suddenly approached by the suspicious men. They approach her in a cool way to make sure she doesn't suspect anything, and they tell Lucy that Ian, who is her companion, is the one who hired them. The dude flashes off a gold coin, saying Ian asked them to bring her to the docks. Lucy is surprised to hear this, since she thought Ian was taking his bath. The bad guy then tells Lucy that there was some kind of incident right as he went to the backyard to bathe. Lucy freaks out because she believes that the bandits have tracked her down to the town. Scared about the whole situation, Lucy doesn't hesitate before following the dude. As they rush through the back, she suddenly spots Ian preparing the bathwater across the fence. Lucy is shocked to see this, but before she can even do anything, they put a sack over her. She starts screaming in the sack, calling Ian's name. Ian hears her voice, but before he can even do anything, one of the bad guys rushes over to attack him. Ian dodges the strike, causing the dude to trip and crash to the ground. Ian figures out that the dudes are not from Lucy's fiancé. By the time he gets up to try to chase down the bad guys, one of them blocks his path. Ian angrily attacks the dude with wind magic, but he has a limit to what he can do since he is still exhausted from the magic he's used. Ian then decides to find the mystery that is currently willing to lend a hand, and the darkness offers to help. Without hesitation, Ian calls down darkness on the dudes, freaking them out. With him being the only one who can see the situation, he arms himself with a stick and starts beating the dudes so hard. While the dude is screaming for help, Ian suddenly spots some dudes coming in the distance, and he figures out that the dude called for backup. The darkness soon vanishes, and Ian yells at the bad guy, asking him where they took Lucy. Suddenly, a knife flies past Ian's head, hitting the board behind him. Ian looks forward and sees a bunch of stern-looking men walking towards him, led by a scary old man, asking him if he was the one who summoned the darkness that they just witnessed. It turns out that the group is the feared Santiago Knights. Ian confidently replies that he is the one who summoned the darkness. Even though Ian looks bold, he can sense an immense bloodthirst from the old man. The bad guy immediately uses this to his advantage, begging the knights to save him from Ian. He claims that Ian was trying to kill him for no reason, and hearing this only makes Ian angrier. The old man then says everything makes perfect sense now that he knows that he is a mage. Ian asks him what he means by this, and the old man replies that this is how mages like to do their things. The old man claims that mages are beings who do whatever they please. Ian loses it when he hears this because he doesn't want to believe that the dude has such a trash image in his head about mages. Ian yells at the old man, telling him to stop saying trash. Ian mentions that the bad guy was the one who attacked him first, and he doesn't even see any reason why he would start beating someone up for no reason. Before Ian knows it, he realizes that he has crashed out on the group, and he becomes worried because he is going to be in danger if the old man starts swinging his sword. Surprisingly, the old man tells Ian that he appears to be a skilled mage because of how he speaks. Basically, having a foul mouth in this world is proof of high skill. One of the knights then cuts in, saying Ian might be skilled, but this doesn't mean he should have used evil magic. Ian asks him what he means by evil magic, and he replies that obscuring the surroundings with darkness is evil because it implies hiding from the sun, the eye of the heavens. The dude claims that hiding in the darkness is a despicable act. Ian is shocked to hear that they are claiming that darkness is despicable because it rejects the sun. Ian immediately figures out that they are believers of the Heavenly God Church because of how they speak. Ian decides to educate them, asking them if it is not the providence of the heavens that day and night can coexist. He asks them why darkness exists if the Divine One only dwells in the light. The moment they hear this, they become mute, and Ian continues, yelling at them, saying he didn't create darkness because it existed, because the Divine Being wanted it to exist. Thanks to how angry Ian is, his scream almost renders the big guy, who is asking him dumb questions, deaf. This leaves the knights to come together to talk about what Ian just said. After so much deliberation, they finally agree with Ian, saying that without God's permission, no one could possibly cast darkness under the sun. Once they have all seen reason in what he said, Ian asks the knights if he can leave because his sister was kidnapped. It immediately dawns on the old man that the bad guy Ian was beating up is an accomplice to the kidnappers, and Ian confirms this. The dude realizes that he is done for, and he tries to change the narrative, but the old man orders that they take him away. The old man tells the big guy, Dietrich, to stay behind to keep an eye on the bad guy. The old man then tells Ian that they are going to lend him a hand to retrieve his sister as an apology. Shortly afterward, they arrive at the docks to find the kidnappers just leaving on a boat. The knights are pissed when they see this, and the old man orders his men to bring forward their boat so that they can chase down the kidnappers. Upon hearing their slogan, Ian finally figures out that they are knights, and he urges them not to use the boat. He lets them know that he is just going to pull the boat closer, so they should just throw a hook into the boat when he does. The old man is surprised when he hears this because he believes that Ian is just a user of shadow magic and never expected him to be able to use water magic. Ian reveals that he has completed the beginner level in several different schools of magic, and the old man is surprised to hear this since the mages he's found on the battlefield could only use one type of magic. In addition, he doesn't expect Ian to be able to cast spells, since he claims that he has only mastered the beginner level. Ian then gets into action, and he calls on the river to heed his command. The river follows his word, and a huge typhoon hits the water, shocking the knights because Ian is displaying a magic that even surpasses the water magic used on the battlefield. Before the kidnappers know what is happening, the water's current turns the other direction and starts leading them back to the docks. In the end, the kidnappers are captured, and Lucy is saved. Lucy rushes into Ian's arms while screaming out his name with tears in her eyes. Ian doesn't know how he's going to react to this until the old man scolds him, reminding him that his sister is currently crying in his arms. Ian then pets Lucy, saying he understands that she must have been through some rough times. Even while comforting her, all he can think about is how he's going to go back to the inn to take a bath. Little does he know that having a peaceful bath in this world is not as easy as he thinks. Later on, Ian is having his bath, and unknown to him, the Lord's eldest son, Bernard, is rushing in his direction with his knight, Hansen. It turns out that he has seen the smoke from the bath, and it has gotten his attention. Ian is surrounded by the Santiago Knights when Bernard rushes into the yard, asking Ian what he is doing. Ian casually answers the dude that he is obviously taking a bath. Bernard almost loses his mind when he hears this because even the imperial people rarely bathe except on special occasions. He believes that he deserves to receive a report as the eldest son of the town. While Bernard is raging, the old man Ruda comes in to try to calm the situation. However, Bernard tells him to screw off because he was asking Ian a question, not him. Ruda then tells Bernard to calm down because Ian is actually a mage. Instead of backing down, Bernard proceeds to do something unusual, and he tells Ian to get out of the bath to greet him personally. Ian is not surprised because in this world, there is a noble culture called mage baiting. It is a procedure where a noble provokes a mage just to confirm their power. A mage who responds to this calmly is considered to be a weak mage, but a mage who crashes out is considered truly powerful. The moment Ian figures out that Bernard is trying to mage bait him, he decides to play the game, and he refuses Bernard's instruction to step out of the bath. Bernard loses his mind when he hears this, and he yells at Ian, asking him if he is seriously refusing him. Ian calmly asks him why he should answer him, and Bernard tells Hansen to drag Ian out of the bath. Since Bernard is still putting on an act, Ian decides to take things even more seriously. He stands up in the bath and displays a scary magic power that puts fear in Bernard and Hansen. Bernard quickly begs Ian, telling him to stop because he has finally seen enough of his power. Ian smiles because he is pretty sure that something like this would make Bernard back down. However, Bernard crashes to the ground and starts crying like a baby, leaving Ian to wonder if he went too far. At this point, he is already scared that the Lord might even execute him. The following day, Ian is summoned to the castle, and instead of Colt executing Ian, he actually apologizes for the trouble his son caused him. Colt then asks about Lucy, and Ian reveals that she is at the inn. Ian doesn't see any reason why he should unnecessarily show Lucy's face, which is why he left her at the inn for Ruda and the others to watch over her. Colt then asks Ian for his master's name, and he reveals that it is Eridus. It appears that Colt knows who she is, and he asks if she is headed south. Ian confirms this, saying this is where the Magic University is located. Colt is surprised to hear that she didn't head toward the Duchy of Palgar or the Duchy of Roxlan. Ian asks him what he means by this, and he replies that things have been tense as of late. Apparently, the Duchy of Palgar is targeting Roxlan, which means that there might be a war. Colt then asks Ian if he is also heading south, but Ian lets him know that he is heading east in search of mysteries. Since this is the case, the man offers to give Ian a gift. Ian is surprised, and he wonders what the gift might be. Moments later, a big chest is brought forward, and Ian asks Colt what is inside it. He tells him to open it, and Ian opens the box to check it out. Ian is blown away when he opens the box to find out that it is a staff. Colt mentions that it is a staff that was once used by a certain aeromancer, and it is called Windwalker. Ian is impressed by the name, and he grabs the staff to check it out. The staff that has a red orb in the middle of the arc looks pretty cool in Ian's hands, and Colt confirms this. Ian smiles because the situation appears like he just got a mage's starter item. Colt tells Ian that it is an expression of his gratitude for forgiving his son's rudeness. He asks Ian if he likes it, and Ian assures him that he does, thanking the dude for the staff. When Ian returns to the inn, he is met with another case of emergency, as claimed by Lucy. Ruda takes Ian to a birdcage where a crow is being held. He explains that a hunter caught the crow that morning and was about to eat it, but Lucy stopped the hunter. Lucy mentions that she saved the crow because Ian's last name is Raven, and since crows and ravens are relatives, she thinks it would be cool. She is so sure that Ian would love the gift, but Ian breaks her heart, telling the hunter to go ahead and eat the crow, while apologizing for the trouble that Lucy caused. Ian scolds Lucy, reminding her that he is the mage in the situation and doesn't even understand what she is talking about. The hunter rushes over to the cage, thanking Ian for clearing the air as he is now ready to grill the crow. Ian is about to leave the room when he hears the crow's voice speaking to him, begging Ian to save him. Ian immediately rushes back, telling the hunter to calm down. Ian then communicates with the crow, asking it what it is, and the crow only urges Ian to save it. However, Ian yells at it, telling it to answer the question, but Ian soon realizes that the crow doesn't even understand Moronius's language, which means that there is a possibility that it lacks mystery. The only thing the crow keeps saying is to beg Ian to spare it, and Ian is forced to tell it to shut up, assuring it that he is going to help it. The crow continues yelling for help, forcing Ian to scream at it. The crow immediately goes quiet, and Ian realizes that the crow might not understand human language, but it can actually read the room. The hunter is surprised when he realizes that Ian is actually communicating with the crow, and Ian reveals that the crow wants to be saved. Ian then tells the hunter to leave the crow with him in the meantime, and this gladdens Lucy's heart because her wish finally came through. Ruta commends Lucy, saying this basically means that she can see mystery too. Lucy rides the wave, saying she has never studied magic, but it appears that she has talent for it. Later on, Ian wraps a bandage around the crow's broken wing so it can heal. Lucy asks Ian what he plans to do with the crow. She wants to know if he is going to hand it back over to the hunters, but Ian knows he can't do this, since the hunters will just eat it. Just then, the crow climbs onto his arm and it speaks to Ian, urging him not to abandon it because the people in the area are pretty scary. Seeing how troubled the crow is, Ian places the crow on his shoulder. Lucy asks Ian if he is currently communicating with the crow, and he says yes, but he wants to believe that this is just a temporary situation until the crow fully heals. Lucy brightens up and says that they have to give the crow a name. She immediately suggests that they name it Obsidian because it has beautiful black eyes. However, Ian argues that this is too long, so he suggests that they shorten it to Oberon. The crow appears to like the name as it spreads its wings on Ian's shoulder, and Ian is surprised that it actually likes the name. Just then, Lucy tells Ian what she's been thinking. She suggests that they travel with Ruta and the other knights. Lucy believes that it is actually better than traveling alone, and Ian realizes that this is actually a good suggestion because it would not be easy for bandits to easily attack them. However, it is going to be a problem if they are not heading the same way as them. Ian is thinking about this when Ruta enters the room, asking Ian what he is thinking about. Ruta lets Ian know that he might be a mage, but traveling alone with a woman is quite dangerous. Ruta suggests that they make a deal and reveals that they are currently on their way to capture a monster that appeared in Baron Katina's territory. Ian asks him about the monster, and he mentions that it is a manticore. A manticore is a notorious beast known for its cruelty and enjoyment for killing. Ian then asks Ruta if he is suggesting that they capture the manticore together, but Ruta says no, revealing that he doesn't want Ian in danger. However, if he is willing to help, they are not going to stop him. Ian takes a minute to think about it and tells Ruta that he is not interested, but Ruta grabs him, urging him to hear him out first. Ruta says what they need from him isn't hunting, and he reveals that they are a knight order formed by a monastic group of the Heavenly God Church. When they made plans to go and capture the manticore, the priests in the Count's territory forcibly requested help from a mage. Ruta figures out that they are offended and they want Ian to smooth things out with the mage. Basically, what a mage says is going to carry more weight than what a knight says. Ian thinks about it and realizes that it is not really a bad deal, and if he just calms down the sulking mage, they're going to get themselves a knight escort. Ian then agrees to the deal, and in no time, the group sets out on the journey. Traveling with the Knight Order was comfortable for Ian because the members of the Knight Order were all good people. It was completely stress-free, but there was something to complain about. Any opportunity that the knights get, they are always asking him to study the Holy Scriptures with them. Ian is always saying no, but they are pretty relentless. Ruta then tells Ian that if he could hear the voice of God, he might actually become a cleric of the order. A cleric is basically a church mage who uses divine mystery. Ian is interested in this because if he can get an opportunity to talk to God, he could ask why he was reincarnated and about the status window. Because of this, he finally decides to join in learning the scripture, and the knights are glad that he has finally changed his mind. Ian is invested in the scriptures when he suddenly hears a voice that isn't human in his head, and all indications point to divinity. Ian yells at the voice, asking him if he is God, and the voice taunts him, saying he might be on the right path. Ian then starts asking questions like, why did God reincarnate him into that world, or why there is even a status window? Ian screams at the top of his voice, but he gets ignored. Ian almost loses his mind when he realizes that he has just been aired, but he continues screaming, demanding that God return to him. The knights are forced to restrain him to try to get him to calm down. After this incident, Ian sits down with the Bible to study as if his life depends on it so he can have another chat with God. Even the knights who introduced him to the scriptures are left wondering if they had done the wrong thing at this point. In the end, Ian acquires a new skill, which is holy magic. This allows him to converse with the ruler of that world, which is basically the god of that world. However, Ian soon regrets his devotion because he starts getting notifications on the screen urging him to study the Bible better. He is informed that the more he studies, the happier God will be. The prefixes of the divine being are so long that it is obvious that the system is even glazing the divine being. Ian wonders if he was dropped into this world by the divine being just to be giggled at. Ian almost cries when he realizes that he has to raise his magic level to hold a conversation with God directly. Ian then concludes that he would have to find more mysteries to gather points so he can upgrade his holy magic. Some days later, they run into bandits, but before Ian can even do anything, the Night Order takes down the bandits. They cut them down mercilessly while making sure that Ian is safe. Ruta walks up to Lucy, asking if she is fine, and she assures him that she is good. She asks Ruta if he is also good, and he mentions that no matter how old he gets, he can't be defeated by bandits. Ian then says he heard that the old man used to be a mercenary, and Ruta replies that he might not boast about it, but he made a name for himself in his youth. This is basically why he uses the alias Elder, because there are many who judge him by his name and try to attack him. Ian is surprised to hear this because this means that he is so famous that anyone would basically recognize his name. After wiping out the bandits, the Night Order celebrates their win, and moments later, they arrive at where the road splits. The east leads to the Count's castle, while the west leads to the forest where the Manticore appeared. Ruta says the forest where the mage lives is to the west, and he urges Ian to come along fast. However, Ian urges him to calm down. He turns to Lucy, telling her that they should go meet the mage first, and afterward they would head to Katina's place. However, Lucy refuses, telling him that she will continue on her own. Ian asks her if she will be fine by herself, and Lucy replies that she is not a kid, so she is definitely going to be fine. She tells Ian that she knows her way to her uncle's place, so she is definitely going to be fine. With a bright smile, she runs off, but Ian is left wondering if Lucy's going to be fine. He figures out that he has to wrap up the mission quickly to go after Lucy. Ruta is surprised that Lucy is leaving by herself, and he asks Ian about it. Ian replies that he is going to be joining her shortly, and he asks Ruta if they are going to be meeting the mage anytime soon. Ruta says yes, but grabs Ian, asking him if he is mentally prepared. Ian asks him what he means by this, and Ruta tells him that mages are temperamental. Since they are in a bad mood because of the church, there is no telling what they might do, and Ian asks him why he has to clean up the church's mess. Ruta then replies that they have to, since they are getting paid by the church, and Ian finally understands why everyone is wearing such nice armor. Ruta teases Ian, saying he's pretty sure that the mage is going to forgive them because Ian has a beautiful face. Ian is a bit nervous since this will be his first time meeting a mage other than himself, leaving him to wonder if it will be fine. Meanwhile, the mage, Monty Campbell, who is a batonomancer, is already waiting for them with his crooked stew. As Ruta and his men approach Monty's house, Ruta explains his power to Ian. Ruta tells Ian that Monty can manipulate vegetation, and he can also concoct terrifyingly potent drugs from plant toxins. However, they need Monty, since he has cooked up a powerful poison to hunt the Manticore. The moment they arrive at the entrance of the house, they are hit with a stinking smell that almost causes them to choke. Just then, Monty steps out to welcome the group, saying he has been waiting for them. He leads them into the house, and he serves them the horrible-smelling chicken stew that he has prepared for them. The knights almost vomit as they stare at the stew inside the plate in their hands. Ruta berates Mani, telling him that he doesn't even have to prove his power in such a horrible way. Mani argues that all he did was serve his guests a rare dish he made from crops he grew with great care. Mani tells them that they are free to leave if they are not his guests, but Ruta and the knights know that they have no choice. Seeing how the knights are almost choking on the smell of the dish alone, Mani wonders if he went too far. Surprisingly, one person among them all is munching on the food as if nothing is wrong, and this is none other than Ian. Even Mani cannot believe his eyes because Ian is basically tearing into a soup that is packed with garlic. Mani is forced to walk over to Ian to ask him if he is fine, and Ian simply replies that the dish is delicious. Mani almost passes out in shock when he hears this because he didn't prepare the dish to be delicious. Ian confirms this, saying the garlic even makes it even better, and right in front of everyone, he consumes a whole bulb of garlic. Mani is forced to grab Ian, telling him to stop whatever it is that he is doing. Mani mentions that he has been an herbalist for 40 years, but this is the first time he has seen someone as ridiculous as Ian. Mani then asks him for his name, and Ian replies that it is Ian Eridus Raven. The moment Mani hears his name, he realizes that Ian is Eridus's apprentice. Mani immediately apologizes for being mischievous, and as an apology, he enters the kitchen to cook up a more presentable dish. The dish looks so tasty, and while the knights are dying over this, Ian is mourning the horrible chicken stew dish that was taken away from him. While they are eating, Mani asks them if it is true that they are hunting a manticore, and Ruda confirms this. Mani lets him know that it is not going to be easy because Count Katina himself arranged for monster hunters to capture the manticore, but they were all wiped out. Ruda assures Mani that he is prepared for situations like this, and Mani asks him if he has ever caught a manticore. Ruda replies that only a few times, and this was when he was younger. Mani then turns to Ian, asking him if he has ever done this. Ian is confused by this, and Mani tells him that he must be a full-fledged mage if he was trained by Eridus. Mani suggests that he lend his wisdom to the knights about what a mage is supposed to do. Basically, a moment comes for every mage when they must interact with people, regardless of their own will. Eridus had told Ian that he must never take such a moment lightly. Ian knows that he doesn't have to go out of his way to catch the manticore, but if he refuses the proposal, bad rumors might spread at the Mage Gathering. The Mage Gathering is an organization formed by mages, led by the Magic University, to ensure proper use of mystery. Ian knows that if something like this happens, he won't have the effrontery to even face his master. In addition, he might not be able to seek help from other mages when he needs it. After looking at how everything is going to play out, Ian realizes that he has no choice, and he tells the knights that he is going to accompany them. The next day, the team heads into the forest on the Manticore mission. Ian can sense a strange tension in the air and can only hope that Lucy is fine. Moments later, Oberon yells at Ian, telling him that he has found the Manticore. Ruda asks Ian what the issue is, and Ian tells him that Oberon just informed him of the direction they are supposed to take to track down the Manticore. Ruda is blown away by this, and he admits that it is an insane ability. Apparently, Ian had made Oberon get used to human speech while it was sitting on his shoulder. He was able to teach Oberon in no time thanks to his magic skills. Just then, Ian asks Ruda something important. He wants to know if he can persuade a manticore, since it is also a monster. Ruda doesn't have an answer to this, but Mani cuts in, saying a manticore isn't the kind of creature one can talk to. Ian cracks down on Mani, asking him what he knows about summoning magic. Mani defends himself, saying he knows what a mystery is. Mani then tells Ian that he is even going to report him to Eridus even if he manages to persuade the manticore. Ian cannot believe that instead of praising him, he is going to tell his master. Suddenly, one of the knights calls their attention to the distance, telling them that the manticore is standing right in front of them. They look forward and realize that the manticore is looking their way, and Ruda tells the mages not to leave his side. Ruda reveals that he's already applied poison to all their weapons, and this is a poison that was specially developed by Mani. Ruda then orders his men to fire at the manticore, which they immediately do. To their dismay, the arrows bounce off the manticore's tough skin, leaving the knights confused about what to do. Ruda tells his men to attack again, but the manticore laughs at them before stepping out of the dark to face them. The laugh is so evil that even Ian becomes seriously worried. With the manticore now standing in front of them, they realize that they don't even have time to apply the poison properly. Just then, Ian screams at the top of his voice to get the manticore to notice him, and Mani is surprised that Ian actually did it. Once the manticore turns to Ian, it expresses its shock that a human dared to address it, which is quite rare. Ian then urges the manticore to stay calm while saying he is glad that he can actually understand him. Ian introduces himself, but suddenly the manticore mocks him, telling him to screw off. It even insults him, telling him to eat shit, and Ian yells at the manticore, asking it what its problem is. Surprisingly, the manticore reacts well to this, saying this is what it wants. It asks Ian what he wants, and Ian lets it know that he wants the skin of its head. The manticore laughs out loud, commending Ian for being an honest one. Just then, the manticore asks Ian to join forces with it to tear down the humans. The manticore shows how rotten it is as it talks about how enjoyable human meat is. In fact, it tells Ian that he is going to get plenty of golden women, and after Ian is done with the women, it is going to kill them. After hearing all the sickening things that the manticore has to say, Ian throws up right in its presence while flipping it off and calling it a piece of shit. Since Ian is not going to accept its proposal, the manticore leaps over him, telling him that it is going to wipe out everyone. As the manticore approaches the knights, Mani activates his magic to unleash giant roots to take over where the manticore is standing. Ruda yells at Mani, asking him what he's done. Mani replies that he just ate the manticore, but Ruda scolds him, telling him that there are knights close to the beast. Mani argues with Ruda, telling him to handle things the way he wants then. Ian and Ruda rush over to the other side and find the knights wounded. However, the worst has happened. Ian watches in horror as he sees Dietrich lying on the ground, fatally injured. Dietrich apologizes to Ruda for allowing the manticore to escape, but Ruda comforts him, telling him that it is not his fault. Ian stands there in horror, and for the first time he realizes that death is real in this world. However, he never thought he would get to mourn Dietrich of all people, and it dawns on him that everything he saw in stories has become a stark reality. Ian rushes over to grab Dietrich's hands and he reminds him that he once told him that prayer and faith would make the heavens open. With tears of death in his eyes, Dietrich confirms this and Ian suggests that they pray together. Ian starts praying and he tells the ruler in heaven that Dietrich is their biggest fan. He asks if they are not going to do anything because Dietrich is about to die, and just then, Ian hears the voice of the heavens, telling him that if it is what he wants, they can give it a try. The knights are left in awe as Ian's hands start to glow, which is a sign of immense holy power. Suddenly, Dietrich finds himself in heaven with the goddess in front of him. Dietrich is left in shock, and the goddess welcomes him, telling him that she is happy to see him. Dietrich trembles in shock, and he bows his head to the goddess with the realization that he is in heaven. The goddess then tells him that there is something he must do. Dietrich asks what it is, and the goddess tells him that he must spread her will even further while helping the weak and bringing them happiness. Finally, the goddess tells Dietrich that he must help her apostle, Ian. After telling him her wish, she sends him off, and Ian opens his eyes and sees Ruta and the others. They are left in shock as Dietrich comes back to life, and Ian stands tall with pride, asking Dietrich how it feels to be back from the dead. Suddenly, Dietrich grabs Ian like a deity, praising him for standing as a medium between him and the goddess to save him. Ian cannot deny this, but knows he was only able to use holy magic because the goddess of the Heavenly God Church lent him her holy power. Ian then asks Dietrich how he knows this because it was the goddess who told him that he had to save him since he still has a lot to do. Dietrich is shocked because this is the same thing that the goddess told him. Dietrich immediately bows to Ian, addressing him as the apostle sent by the goddess. The other knights can't believe their eyes, and they assume that Dietrich is already losing his mind because there is no way Ian is an apostle. Moments later, Mani expresses his surprise that everyone almost died, but they appear to be full of energy. Ruta then suggests that they continue their hunt for the manticore, and the men agree to this in full capacity. Ian tells Ruta that he is going to send Oberon ahead to scout for them. Ian is determined to catch the manticore and defeat it because of what it did. Meanwhile, the manticore has made its way into town, and it's causing havoc. An old man and his son are seen trying to escape, but the old man slips from his son's hands. He falls to the ground, but before his son can turn around to get him out of there, the manticore has closed in on them. Instead of running off, the son grabs a fork and holds it toward the manticore, telling it to leave his father alone. Just then, the manticore shocks the dude by interacting with him in human language. The manticore then gives the dude an offer, telling him to kill his father while promising to spare his life and the rest of the townspeople. However, the dude yells at it, telling it that there is no way he is going to agree to this. Since it has come to this, the manticore says it has no choice but to kill the dude and everyone else on the scene. Father and son grab each other as they wait for their death. But suddenly, an arrow comes in from the distance, piercing the manticore's eye. The manticore screams in pain, and when it looks up, it sees Ruta and the knights charging at it. Ruta orders his knights to go after the manticore with full strength, and a fierce battle ensues as they try to cut down the stubborn beast. The manticore is not threatened by their presence, as it calls the humans insects. Suddenly, the manticore hears Ian's voice in the distance, calling it the B word while scolding it for acting all desperate. The manticore yells at Ian, telling him to shut his mouth, but Ian teases it, saying it is all bark and no bite. This triggers the manticore, and it starts rushing toward Ian's position, but the moment it gets into range, Mani comes in. He activates his magic, bringing forth flowers to grab the manticore by the leg, restraining its movements. Ruta then orders his men to do their thing, and they all pour flammable liquid on the manticore from all directions. The manticore still believes that there is nothing that will harm it, but it realizes how screwed it is when Ian activates his fire magic. This burns the manticore so much that it only leaves flame dust. After defeating the beast, the townspeople come together to thank the knights for saving them, and Ruta replies that they only did what was right. Seeing that Ian is standing behind and no one is addressing him, the crow teases him, asking if he is seriously getting left behind, but Ian tells Oberon to shut its mouth. Ian figures out that the people are scared because they just witnessed him turn the manticore into a fireball. Suddenly, the father and son who were saved appear behind Ian, thanking him for saving them, and Ian nervously acknowledges their thanks. Deep down, Ian didn't even do it for appreciation, but he still doesn't mind. Ruta then walks up to him, commending him for being impressive because they were only able to capture the manticore thanks to him. Ian doesn't want to take the thanks as he reveals that he only did as Mani told him. However, Ruta urges him to raise his head high because it is rare to see someone with such incredible skill have such a humble personality. Ruta believes that someone like Ian might later become a great figure who puts the nobles to shame. Just then, a bunch of knights show up, asking Ruta and Ian if they were the ones who defeated the manticore. Ruta confirms this and asks them who they are. The knights apologize for the late introduction and reveal that they are knights belonging to the castle. Ian is surprised to hear this, and the knights suggest that they come with them to the castle because Count Katina has requested to see them. When they finally arrive at the castle, Katina welcomes them with the best meal while commending them for being able to stand against the terrifying monster. Katina teases Ruta, saying it would have been nice if the castle had knights like him. Katina also tells Mani that he should rest assured that no one would lay a hand on the forest where he lives. Katina then turns to Ian, saying he's heard stories about him from his niece. Ian is totally carried away by the delicious food he is eating that he didn't even know that Katina was calling for him until Oberon calls his attention to this. Ian finally turns to the Count, apologizing for his attitude, revealing that the food was so delicious that he couldn't hear him speak. Katina tells Ian that he heard about how he took care of his niece, and he has decided to give him a golden magic scroll. Apparently, the moment the scroll is torn in half, it unleashes its effect. Ian is blown away by the scroll as he can feel the high quality of every single sentence in the scroll. Katina asks Ian if he likes it because he intentionally prepared it for him. Ian assures him that he likes it, while thanking him for the precious gift. Katina assures him that the scroll is nothing compared to the fact that he brought Lucy back. Just then, Katina snaps his fingers and Lucy makes her way into the room wearing a beautiful dress, but a hat that looks like a traffic cone. Ian cannot believe his eyes, and he starts wondering where the lady got such an ugly hat from. Lucy smiles at Ian, asking him if he's been fine because it's been a while. Ian assures her that he's good, and Ruta cuts in, saying he finally understands that the two are not siblings, but lovers. Ian tries to clear the air, saying it is not what Ruta thinks, and Katina tells Ian that he has a proposal for him. Ian asks him what it is, and Katina urges Ian to lend him his strength so that they can fight together to avenge what happened to Lucy. Ian finally understands why Katina gave him the golden scroll. Nonetheless, Ian doesn't think it is a big deal since he doesn't have to risk his life fighting on the battlefield. He can basically just provide moderate support with magic as he did with the Manticore, and if things go well, he might get double the rewards from both Katina and Lucy. In every way, Ian doesn't see it as a bad deal, and he tells the Count that if they need his help, he's willing to give it. 3 days later, Ruta prepares to leave, and Lucy thanks him for everything that he did. Surprisingly, the number of knights in Ruta's team has gone down because Katina pulled some of them away with money. Ruta turns to Ian thanking him for everything, and Ian says the same too. Ruta tells Ian that when he has the time, he should visit Trifar Island, promising that he is going to introduce him to some mysteries that he might be interested in. Ian is surprised, since this is the first time he has heard of such an island. Ruta mentions that it is an island floating in the Coral Sea. Ruta tells him that if he says he's come to see Salvador, everyone will surely welcome him. Ian immediately asks him if this is his real name, and Ruta says it is finally time to tell him. Ruta mentions that his actual name is Salvador, of the Orcus family. Lucy hears this, and she is stunned because she knows something important that Ian doesn't. She asks Salvador if he is the same person from the White Wolves family, and Salvador commends her for remembering his old name. Ian asks Lucy what the White Wolves mean, and Lucy is shocked that Ian doesn't know. Apparently, the White Wolf mercenary group was a group that flourished as mercenaries directly under the former emperor, and its leader at the time was granted the prestigious title of Swordmaster. Lucy then explains that the person standing in front of them at that moment is a freaking swordmaster. Instead of freaking out or jumping around about this, Ian just stands there with zero interest. Even Lucy scolds him, telling him to give off a bit of reaction since he is standing in front of a legend, but Ian couldn't care less, and Salvador isn't even surprised since he knows the type of person Ian is. Once everything is cleared up, Salvador tells him that it is time for him to leave, and Mani tells Ian to give his greeting to Eritis. Dietrich holds Ian tight as he doesn't want to leave, but Ian lets him know that this is not goodbye. Ian and Salvador shake hands as they say goodbye to each other, and Ian assures him that he is going to come to Trifar Island once things settle down. After this, Katina gathers his army in preparation to go after the bandit Graham, who murdered his sister. Deep down, Katina doesn't think the whole situation is bad, because by using Lucy as a shield to secure her lands and having her marry one of his vassals, Katina aims to take full control of the Terrian territory. As he stands in front of his men, Katina motivates them, telling them of how he plans to pass judgment on Grime, the usurper. His men roar his name in agreement, and with this, it is evident that Katina has the support of his men. Later on at the military camp, the soldiers notice that Ian is boiling the spoon, and they assume that he is making spoon soup. Ian cannot believe just how dull these people are because he is basically sterilizing the spoon. Lucy asks him what sterilizing means, and he replies that it is some kind of mystery, since Lucy wouldn't even get it if he took his time to explain it. Before he knows it, the other soldiers show up asking him to boil meat with the spoon, but Ian yells at them, telling them that he is not making soup. Soon afterward, Lucy tells Ian that she has been thinking about the reward that she promised him, and Ian has even forgotten about it all. Lucy mentions that she was thinking of giving him gold, but from the look of things, he already has more than enough. This is why she thought of something else to make him happy, and what she came up with is the magic sword, Anorishil. She reveals that the sword was a gift to the first Baron Tarion from the fairies. She reveals that the tale goes that the Baron fell in love with a fairy, and taking up the sword, he became the savior of the fairy realm. Lucy is narrating the tale with great excitement, but Ian is not really impressed. Ian asks Lucy why her family couldn't use the sword to attain greater heights rather than remain a barony. Lucy then reveals that this was 400 years ago, and it appears that Anorishil is buried in the first Baron's grave. Ian is shocked to hear this, and Lucy continues by saying they would have to dig up the Baron's grave to get it. Ian cannot believe that Lucy plans to dig up something that the Baron sealed just to give it to someone else. Ian is blown away by the lack of morals, and when he finally speaks up, he tells Lucy that it appears that the sword is pretty valuable, so it would be better if she uses it for her family. In fact, he says it would be better if they just continue to use it to boast forever. Lucy cuts in by saying she might not have gained anything back yet, but she has gained the right to fight, and for this, she is grateful. This is basically why she is willing to give Ian the valuable sword as a token of her gratitude. Lucy stands up in anger, calling Ian an idiot for not being able to read the room, and she rushes off. Ian is left wondering if he took things too far, and just then Katina shows up, telling Ian that he has a favor to ask him. Later on, some mercenaries are seen extorting a villager for his things, and suddenly they spot Oberon on a tree branch. This immediately tells them that Ian is in the area, and before they know it, Oberon announces Ian's arrival. They are still freaking out about a talking crow when Ian appears on the scene with a look of disgust on his face. It turns out that Ian is there because of the favor that Katina asked of him. Apparently, Katina told Ian that he wants him to stop the misdeeds of the mercenaries in the town. Ian had suggested that he use the knights instead, since they would do a better job, but Katina let him know that this is not possible, since the knights are the mercenaries' comrades. They often cover up their crimes and even look the other way, and this is done to maintain the morale of the mercenaries. Katina says he might have tolerated their looting for a while, but they are currently in his niece's territory. Katina tells Ian that if he gives the mercenaries a warning, they should start watching their behavior. To follow up on the request is why Ian tracked down the mercenaries to scold them. Just at the mere sight of him, the mercenaries are already shaking. He threatens to finish them off as punishment, but the mercenaries beg him, telling him that it won't happen again. After this, the mercenaries became such good guys that they were even scared of coming outside, since they believed that Ian would kill them if he saw them. Katina and Lucy were overjoyed when they heard the news, but suddenly, another thing happened. Katina learns from his knight that to the usurpers, their army is no longer a threat. Ian is surprised to hear this because they have the larger force, and the knight replies that this is because their army is completely harmless. He explains that if the army had looted the territory, the people of the territory would have made a fuss for Grime to stop the invasion. However, thanks to their peaceful march, Grime has bought time to gather his forces. In addition, since their army cannot move as they wish, morale has dropped significantly. Ian realizes that it has truly become a complicated situation, and the knight asks Katina if he is going to permit looting now. Katina turns to Ian, asking if there is no way forward to this, and he replies that there might be a way. Katina and Lucy immediately start begging Ian to tell them the way forward. Later on, Ian is seen at a farmer's house. After being disturbed by the crow's noise, the farmer steps out, and Ian asks him if he is the owner of the wheat field. The farmer arrogantly asks Ian who he is, and the mercenaries standing behind Ian introduce him to the man. The man immediately falls to his knees, begging Ian to forgive him because he didn't know that he was standing in front of such a famous person. Ian then tells the farmer that the wheat in the field is already bad, and the farmer asks him what he means by this. Ian immediately puts on an act, revealing that evil has eaten deep into the land. He says the soul of the first baron of the land whose land has been unjustly taken is furious. With fear creeping through the farmer's body, he asks Ian what he should do about this. Ian continues with the act and then tells the farmer that Lucy must inherit the throne of her ancestors for the anger of the gods to subside. After delivering this fake message that he made look so real, Ian runs off to another farm to do the same. With this, everyone starts believing that the territory will perish because of Grime. Before Ian knows it, the rumor starts spreading everywhere, and the people start to show their distrust toward Grime. They all come together to ask for Lucy's ascension to escape the calamity. Thanks to this rumor, the Count's army was able to raise its morale, and they headed toward Grime's location. Sometime later, some mercenaries show up to voice their displeasure to Katina, telling him that they have no wish to stand on an honorable battlefield. Katina asks them what they mean by this, and they tell him that Ian is spreading rumors that the town is cursed. They fear that Ian is inviting a curse upon them, and if they stand around a mage like Ian, their honor will be trashed. Ian defends himself, saying a curse is nothing more than a lie, and he can't believe that they are taking the rumors he spread seriously. The knights argue that they can't believe anything a mage says because he is definitely planning to deceive them. Ian realizes that the knights are basically forcing everything. At the same time, he knows that this is a big problem since the knights are considered the stars of war. He can see the reaction on Katina's face, too. It is evident that without knights, a war cannot be properly fought. In the end, Katina will have no choice but to listen to the knights, and Ian already knows that there is no need for him to be there. Ian then speaks up, telling Katina that he doesn't have to worry about him, and if his presence is causing trouble, he will simply leave. As he steps out of the tent, he leaves a warning, telling the Count not to even think of asking for his help in the future, regardless of what happens.